And I think if you can find that sweet spot, whatever it is, you will find joy doing it, whether or not you have people watching you. And I think like that is the formula for success, because that success doesn't mean you make millions as a content creator.
Right.
You're finding success in your life. You're finding
happy.
joy in your life. You're happy.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's contagious for others. And so when that can be shared to others, there's a beauty there that people latch onto and want to continue to do so.
Hey, she's a beauty.
Welcome to Tardux, a podcast for content creators come on, share their stories, experiences, and advice. And today I'm super excited. I have the father-to-be, Squatingdog. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here, Barry. Thanks for having me.
No problem, dude. And first of all, congratulations on you're going to become a dad soon.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. This is going to be I thought, things would be simple already. It's like, whatever. We have a baby cooking. It'll come out soon. We started doing the registry, and I thought to myself, like, oh, this is simple, maybe 5 items. And I pulled up other people's registries, and it was like 80 plus things. And I'm like, I don't even know what nipple cream is. Like, this is nuts. Like, I don't know what's going on here. So I'm overwhelmed a little bit currently, but we're both so excited to have a kid. Like,
Excellent.
It's going to be a big deal for us.
Yeah, the scariest moment is, baby's out, everything's good. You hop in the car and you look back, and now you've got this baby. No instruction manual. You're just riding it out. It's an amazing experience.
Yeah, I heard that like they poop out like an instruction manual, and then you can be like, okay, great, this is what this baby needs. Allergies, got it. Okay, great.
There we go. All right, so the way we start off the podcast is 3 random questions. So are you ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll.
All right, favorite home cooked meal?
I'm a chicken parm guy. Like that's my gut reaction is I love chicken parm. I don't know what about it. It's maybe just the breaded chicken. There's even at Spaghetti Factory, Old Spaghetti Factory. I think that's where it is. Is it Spaghetti? No. It's Cheesecake Factory.
Oh, okay.
There's this place called the Cheesecake Factory. You probably have one near you if you're listening to this. They have a chicken parm pizza.
Oh.
Which is like actually insane. It's like they bread up the chicken and turn it into a pizza that's on top of pasta, and it's fantastic.
Oh, nice. Yeah, see, we're from Canada originally. We moved down here 20-something years ago or more. I like the chicken parm because down here, when you get chicken parm, you're good for 3 meals. The portions are just gigantic.
It's fantastic. Yeah, like having it for lunch, breakfast, everything.
Absolutely.
It's chicken parm all the way.
Yeah. All right, second question. You can replay any game for the first time. What is that game you're going to replay?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a good question. I think I would probably say the original Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
I think if I played that now, though, it's just old.
Yeah.
So it's like less, but if it was like I played that game through like 4 times because I loved it so much. But every time I played it, I wanted fresh eyes. So I would like play with a friend or play with somebody else.
Okay.
But I think like if I like currently, I would say probably the whole Destiny like experience with raids.
Yes.
Because like once you figure out a raid with your teammates, there's nothing like that euphoria of like, we did it, we figured it out, we barely got through. Like, I feel like the people at Bungie like really understand like team mechanics.
Yeah.
And I every raid, I just am blown away at what they can do there. So I think that would probably be my actual answer as of right now.
Yeah.
Futuristically, Final Fantasy VII.
All right. And final question. So final question. You're walking through the living room, TV show's on or a movie. What movie are you stopping everything you're doing and sitting down and just watching it?
That's a good question too. I feel like so any heist movie for me, like really truly a heist movie
Yeah.
is just like I can't not watch heist movies.
Like
Like
Italian
oh
Job, Oceans.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, Oceans. There's Money Heist on Netflix, which is like fantastic. It's not even in English, but it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, either that or a really good anime action scene. Either of those two, I'm like, all right,
You're
I'm
in.
sitting down.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So you've had like a wild this year, you've over in
Yeah.
Copenhagen, dad to be mentioned in Rolling Stone. What a year, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like the past few months haven't been the best to us in terms of just like had a lot of family hardship. There's been a lot of tough things that have gone on personally. So I think 2024 could be a good one. Like we're the end of 2023 to 2024. It just seems like things are picking up for
Yeah.
us. There's a lot of really exciting announcements for me that will be coming soon, and kind of like what I'm doing next, like
Yeah.
next projects. I'm kind of transitioning from a normal content creator type of situation to an actual job inside of a game studio.
Nice.
So that's going to be coming soon. And then, yeah, the Rolling Stone article was just, it was insane. Never would have ever thought that that would ever happen in my, I'm using air quotes if you're listening, career. Because it's been a wild ride ever since I started. Like, it's just so fun
Yeah.
to like explore what you can be capable of. And some of these things come at you as an opportunity, and some of these things you work really hard for, but ultimately it kind of culminates into this like wild roller coaster ride.
Yep. Very cool. And now, where does the name come from?
Yeah, so I get this question every time. I apologize, like professionally now I'm the squatting dog, which is like it doesn't work the greatest with sponsors. A lot of people get confused by it. Like you really got to kind of like talk about it a little. But it's ultimately from as a junior hire, I watched this movie called Man of the House. Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Okay.
Him and his dad essentially. His dad wasn't a part of his life, and so his dad's trying to get back into his life, and they're trying to bond over like different things, and the dad's trying really hard. So takes his son to this like naming ceremony where like you go camping and do all these fun things, and they name each other essentially,
Okay.
and so Jonathan Taylor Thomas looks at his dad. And, okay, you can name him anything, any pet or whatever. And so he goes, "Yeah, I want to name you Squatingdog." And then the dad's just like a little disgusted by this, and is like, "Why? Like, why would of all the animal names, why would you name me Squatingdog?" And he goes, "Well, I had a squirrel named Numbnuts." And I just thought, as junior hire, just thought that was so funny. Like,
Yeah.
just the squatting dog's hilarious. I want it to be named Squatting Dog. So got on AIM Messenger and put in Squatting Dog, and it was taken. The name. So I had to cut one T out to make it work. And so that's kind of been my alias online for the longest time. And
Yeah.
then when some of my content blew up and my name blew up, I was kind of stuck with it before I actually thought to myself, like, is this a good business name? Like, I never knew it was going to
Right.
be a business, right? So it's like a really cool, like, I love it because I don't take myself too seriously. And I love it because it's kind of a marker of like anything can happen to anyone. And it's a great timestamp of like who I am and who I've become
Yeah.
over the years. So
Awesome.
yeah.
All right. So, who was Squatting Dog before finding the go live button? Like, where are you from, and what were you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah, so actually like really crazy divergent. Like if I had gone back in time, I would tell my little self like, "Yo, get into content creation. Like you have capacity here and you have creativity here." But like back, like games and it being your job was never an overlap in my when I grew up. Like it wasn't very accessible. It wasn't easy. It was like you were like a numbers guy and a coder, or you were like an artist and whatever. But I just had a lot of creativity as a young kid, so I didn't know what to do with that. And my parents just were like, school, 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 school,
Yeah.
school, go to college, even though I didn't know at all what I wanted to do. there was a few things inside of me that I found strength in, which was like creativity and also interpersonal like relationships. Like both of those two things like were things that I loved. I loved getting to know people. I loved caring about people. I loved like putting others before me in a lot of ways. And so I ended up going the therapy route, like went into school for therapy and direction and those types of things. And
Yeah.
so I actually have a master's degree and all that in that direction. And then followed that through to college and then graduate school and then whatnot. And so then I became a resident director. There are individuals on college campuses that essentially live on campus and help students. Sometimes they hire RAs that like work on the building to make sure everything
Yeah.
is going good, that resources are being out there. And then I was on the suicide prevention side of that. So I oversaw about 500 students. And anytime a student would have a hardship or something that would like really affect them, I would try to intercede and give them the right resources at the right time, and all that good stuff. So that was where I ended up, and that was a very like rough job, like in the sense of like it takes an emotional toll on
Yeah.
you. Like you can work and be with somebody who, is on the fringe of making some really bad life decisions, and that affects you. You take that home with you. You think about that person. You care about that
Yeah.
person. And so boundaries were really tough because you're living on campus as well. So there isn't like a separation where you're
Okay.
just like going away from the kids or the students to
Yeah.
like, you know, take time to yourself. You're on campus. And so that really took a toll. And I wanted something else. Like it wasn't fully what I wanted. And so I started like playing video games again, and I started like pressing live and just like whatever, I'll try this out, and then all of a sudden Fortnite came around, and I started building what we call cheat sheets, or it's just like things that you identify to unlock your battle pass faster. I started helping people expedite that process to make them like get everything in their battle pass so that they weren't missing out. And so people really respected me for that and really loved that part. And so from that, I built an app in the App Store called Squatingdog for Fortnite, which you can download, and it does everything that
Oh,
did.
wow.
We got a massive amount of people that are on that app. We've got over, like 500,000 people that have downloaded that app, and so that was really successful. And then I streamed on the side, and that was also doing really well. And so yeah, I ended up just like trying being a content creator. And there's pros and cons. There's things that I don't love about it. There's things that I love about it. If I could have an editor that like knew me very well and like could help me edit, that would be great, because ultimately I'm at a place where I'm spread so thin in terms of like content
Yeah.
that I can't like do it all, and I definitely need help, need a team, need people that understand it. So my next transition is going to be really exciting for me, because I'm usually the person that does everything,
Yeah.
literally everything. And it's going to be exciting for me just to be in a lane and do it really, 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 really well,
Yeah.
rather than be so spread thin. And so I'm excited for the future. And I think like where I've come just like helps, orient me to what I want,
Yeah.
moving
Nice.
forward.
Yeah, I've had a bunch of content creators on, and that is one of the things they look back, if they could change, they would have got an editor sooner. And I've had a couple of editors on, and they say the toughest thing is finding that editor, like you mentioned, who matches your style, your vibe, and everything like that. And it's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. And like um I think you get a lot of people that stop by and are like, "Hey, do you need an editor?" And every time I'm like, "Yes." But is it going to be you? Probably not, because like each content creator is different, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
like my personality, like I don't take myself seriously. If you are an editor and you think I do, you're going to think I'm really bad at the game. Like because I'm like trying to do really weird stuff. I'm trying to eliminate people in very funny ways. Like it's unique to me, and I think there's a lot of people that want to be editors out there, and I think they just assume that everyone is the same, and it's not. Like I don't want to release bad things regularly.
Yeah.
I'd rather release really good things all of like whenever we release them,
Yeah.
rather than that. But there's some people that just want Yeah, I jumped and eliminated somebody. Wow, cool. And they're like, "Can you make it into a clip?" Like some people want that, and I'm like, to me that's not content. Like the bar of content is rising so quickly and
Yeah.
rapidly, and you either are paying attention to that or you're just kind of like throwing it out there and rolling the dice
Yep.
and hoping that it gets big. And sometimes that happens too, but I would rather be consistent in what people can expect from me,
Yeah.
rather than expect a bunch of crap and then a gem every once in a while. Like
Right.
that to me seems silly if you have the mentality of like, I'll just keep just throwing crap at the wall. Like I personally think that that's not the greatest way to grow.
Yeah. That's not a real strategy.
Yeah, it's just like take my last stream, cut up any moment, and just throw it online. Like, no, I think we got to be like more intelligent and strategic about what content people want from us, and then you have to know your audience. Like,
Yes.
who is your audience? Like, do they enjoy? Like, I might think I'm funny, and my audience might not think I'm funny. And that's good data. That's good to
Right.
know, because if I'm throwing dad jokes up and my audience it just is swiping, like that's not what you want,
Nope, not at all. Nope, definitely not. And now, since you hit that go live button, what have been some of the harder things to deal with?
Yeah, so I mean, being on is a thing in content creation as well, right? Like where my wife calls it my streamer voice. All of a sudden, I'm just like on, and I think like being a person that is not on, is tough to broadcast. It's not as exciting for a viewer. And so sometimes viewers are just looking for people that can manage to be on all of the time.
Yeah.
My friends, the Bonsai Bros, they are just so they are like it feels like sugar is their best friend. Like they are
Absolutely.
just going, man,
Yeah.
going. And I am not that way. Like if I'm having a hard time in life, like that's
Yeah.
gonna infiltrate in some capacity in my stream. And so I'm trying to manage that reality of like, okay, so like I'm just gonna choose to be really honest in where I am. And I think like that, there's so many different strategies with streaming. You can go that route. You could just be on. You could like hybrid all sorts of stuff. Like
Yeah.
you can be an actor. You can literally be a different character. And I think like that me being on happens,
Yeah.
but like also I kind of care more about where people are at in the moment.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where the therapy part kind of cuts into my stream, where
Yeah.
it's like it's okay to be where you are. It's okay to have doubts, struggles, frustrations, disappointments, whatever, anger. But it's what we do with those things that I think is crucial. So I think that's one element that's kind of hard as a content creator. And then I think like there's some people that aren't good at time management and all that good stuff, like how to regularly post and all that. Like I think like I have foregone that because I haven't been able to be consistent with it. So
Yeah.
I know the value of consistency. I just like am so spread thin that I like that's
Right.
one part that I have to just say no to in this season. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to post as regularly, and that's okay. Because I am able to financially balance it somewhere else.
Exactly.
And I think that's ultimately like when you're a content creator, that's one of the biggest things is like being able to balance your finances. Like where is income even coming? Like are you relying on donations in your chat? Are you relying on ads? Are you like where is your income funnels?
Yeah.
And I think like when I do my taxes every year and my tax guy looks at all of the like hundreds of different various tunnels of income, he goes, "What is going on? Like what
Right.
what is this?" Like, and I like support a creator. There's like so many different avenues in which finances can come. And I think like where you spend your energy, to get the most bang for your buck is important.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I would say is like the whole like collaboration slash like when you start hiring people to be a part of your team or like you start like paying a thumbnail designer, like figuring out those prices and figuring out your worth versus
Right.
their worth like is also something that isn't like very easily talked about. Like when a sponsorship comes, like HelloFresh, you know, knocks
Yeah.
on my door and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna give you $2,000, but you have to get this many people to sign up." And I'm like, "I am your salesman now." Like,
Right.
and so some people just take those deals because, oh my gosh, it's HelloFresh. Like this is exciting. But they don't realize, like, now you're a salesman for them
Yeah.
in some respects, because if you don't hit their quota, then you don't get money.
Right.
And then it gets kind of weird. So like how to take brand deals, how to know your worth, how to say no to those
Yes.
things, like all of that stuff can be really tough.
Yeah, yeah. There's some really great tidbits there, knowledge right there, and a couple of areas. One of them is the sort of being on. I had a creative on a while ago, and he was talking about 10 years from now. We had the Disney kids. There was all sorts of the trauma that went through that. But 10 years from now, people who are streaming, creating content, there's going to be diagnosis made from the people who have been like streaming 12 hours a day for so long, not having that human contact. It's something you really need to take into heart and be wary of for your mental health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mental health in streaming is a thing for sure. Like, I also think like when you live in a vacuum, there's some interesting things there as well, right?
Yeah.
Like psychology, talks about what this is like when you live in a world where everybody says yes to who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
And you don't have the fluidity of different personalities and like different like people in your life to inform how you interact with others and how
Yeah.
you engage. That's why I think we see a lot of streamers who just like no matter what they do, they're praised for it, and then they get in trouble
Yeah.
because they just like never had somebody like punch them in the face in real life for
Right.
saying something stupid, right? Like
Yeah.
that doesn't happen on the internet. So you can get away with so much more, and that's why we see like unanimous like players saying
Mm-hmm.
unanimous things, and even in chat, right? Like where they could just say whatever they want and no consequence.
Yeah.
I get reminded that I'm bald all of the time. And those people are just like, whatever, baldy. And it's like because there is no consequence. And so I think like that over time has some effects,
Yeah.
and when you are publicly facing, that affects you, the comparison game is a real thing. And when you when you have numbers up, that is in the back of your mind always.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's always somebody out there that's going to have more numbers than you. You're going to look at their stream. You're going to say like, this guy doesn't even talk. This guy has no personality. This guy doesn't have cool overlays. This guy, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then that's going to cycle and affect you over time.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize what that can do over a long period of time.
Right.
And I'm fortunate enough to be able to do this for 6 years and already see those effects. I'm like, okay, like that is something really crucial to think about when you're entering into this space. That one, it's a grind. Two, it's going to affect you in that way. Like, and three, like when everything you do is live, there's consequences for that in your life.
Yeah, and you definitely need to build in breaks. As hard as it is to step away from your stream, you're going to take a hit, but you really need to take breaks. Take a sick day if you need to, but you got to.
Yeah, I think like, I mean, I have a lot of content creator friends. Majority of them do not take breaks. There and it's a real fear. Like I'm transitioning and I am seeing a tank in my numbers.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing more creative now than I am streaming. And that my community gets affected by that, right? Like if you are in direct relationship with people and they expect you, when you're not there, they go somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. They just do. And so the biggest fear for most content creators is, well, what happens if I take a week? Like, do people come back? Like that is a real like, and that fear isn't like a fake one. It's a real thing. Like you will leave and then it'll tank, and then you will hope to get in a rhythm again to bring those people back. So you'll see people that won't stop streaming for a year straight for this exact reason. Like this is called the grind, right? And so I mean, to your point, yes, it is good, but that is good. That's where we're getting into the psyche now.
Yeah.
Like that is good for me is back there, but it's on the back burner. And then like you get sick and you can't, like, cause your body's like, whoa, we haven't rested in a while. I'm going going to take my time here to get better from this like coronavirus or
Yeah.
whatever. And then you get really, really sick. So it's fascinating to me, but I understand it. I just think communities don't recognize like that pressure that's on the
Right.
content creator.
They just see it as you're just playing a video game, and it's so much more than that. And adding into that health aspect of it, it would be really nice if there was some sort of mechanism in place. If you reached a certain view count or a threshold, or other companies that would build in some sort of insurance or sick days, vacation days into creatives' lives, so they can have that cushion to help them along.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good idea. I think, like, when you're a sole content creator, your taxes are crazy. You don't have insurance. It's not like a normal job. So
Right.
you then have to figure out all of those things on the back end, and a lot of content creators probably are not insured unless they have like a significant other
Right.
that is insured in some capacity. And so it would be interesting for a company to recognize that need and kind of address every part of that, like retirement and blah, 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 right? Like all these different things. Like that is because all of these people are hoping for a break or hoping for a long span of like, wealth so that it can carry them either into the future or enough to hopefully retire or whatnot. But a majority of content creators will not ever see that.
Yeah.
And that's a stark reality, but that's the reality that people will have to recognize. It's like most people don't make it. And that's okay, because it's hard to juggle a real job and stream on the side. It's so demanding. Like that is so demanding to a person.
Yeah.
Where it's like people are getting 4 hours of sleep. 4 hours of sleep over a year is not good for your health. Like, so it's just like a tough dynamic as a whole.
Yeah. And now, speaking, from a creative standpoint, which was first for you, for creating YouTube content, or did you jump and just create the app first before coming into streaming and creating videos?
Yeah, so it was Reddit first.
Oh.
Yeah, I grew on Reddit, which is actually a great place to grow because people rip you apart.
Oh, God, do they ever?
Yeah. So, like, if your content isn't the best it's ever been, people will find every reason to destroy you. So that was the training grounds for me as a content creator.
Yeah.
So that I'm grateful for it, honestly, and built some great friendships and relationships through Reddit. I think not very many people use Reddit as much as I think people should.
Yeah.
But Reddit came first, and then I started advertising my Twitter and Instagram on it. And then there were things that I couldn't create through the medium of Reddit that I needed video for. So then that's when I started streaming and doing YouTube on the side as well. So that's kind of the influx. And then eventually created an app after seeing some success on Twitch.
Yep.
And then, so then started doing creative things.
And now from the YouTube side of things, it was, everybody seems like everybody starts on YouTube creating game highlights. Is that how you started, your first YouTube, or did you have a plan already?
Yeah, I mean, I was just doing it for fun. I think like there's a little bit of charm from me about not taking myself seriously, and I think like that charm is kind of like what I tried to highlight in highlights, but also just games.
Yeah.
My very first YouTube video is the most boring thing you'll ever see in the history of your life, but it's fun to look back on where Fortnite has like become. But yeah, it's god awful. Like, don't know how to build or edit or do anything cool. It's just like I just pressed start and was like, I'll upload,
Yeah.
And then as I was getting along, like moving along, I started to figure out a tempo and like what people enjoyed from me. And then I started posting my own podcast on YouTube as well, where people can hear from me talking with others. And so, it's become its own thing. I feel like I've always said this, my YouTube is my least dedicated content, mostly because it just is so time consuming.
Yes.
Like if you've talked with Nick A30, he does his own YouTube editing. He can't stream as much as he wants to stream because he has to go back and edit and do all that. And so once you start developing a formula, you then can expedite some of the process. But the way I create YouTube videos is it's based off of like a theme or an idea.
Yeah.
And then, like, for example, one of my videos is get a victory royale without moving, literally. So Laserbeam did this, but he actually moved in his video. So I was like, I think I can do it without moving. And so I did.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was a span of like 4 days of me like nonstop streaming, trying to just jump out of the battle bus and then drop into a tree, and then like that's
Oh,
it, like
God.
just stay in the tree and hope for the best. And so zones, everything, so there's drama and all this stuff. It's not like, hey everybody, for today's YouTube video I found this mythic weapon, blah blah, you know. There's
Yeah.
like a theme, an idea, a movement. Like it's like, okay, we get it. Like you can listen to the first like 2 sentences and go, I know exactly what's going on here. Mine are more like me attempting the near impossible.
Yeah.
And so there's drama that you have to create. There's all this like energy towards different things. There's comedy, and a lot of times that just takes so much work. And like I said, if I had an editor that understood those things
Yeah.
and like got it, like it would be an incredible pair, because I think YouTube is looking for diversity in content more than like the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So yeah. My YouTube, I would love my YouTube to be bigger than it is.
And now over the time, was there a certain moment that came along that sticks out that made you realize I can take this full time? Or was this a gradual increase of, clips, subs on Twitch, things like that got momentum and just gave you the confidence that, yeah, could be a real time gig?
I think for me, I was one of the first people to get a creator code. So I was on the first, like the literal first, like I think there was like 20 of us or something like that. I was a part of the first crew. And they had this event with it where it was during Valentine's Day, where if you used a supporter creator code, you would get cosmetics. And it was like a wrap, I think, and then maybe a pickaxe. I forget what it was, but because there was millions of players and I was one of,
Oh,
20
wow.
or 50 people that had a code, I made like a lot of like money, in that moment.
Yeah.
And so that for me was the moment of like, whoa, like this is a lot. This is overwhelming. But also I could pay for rent for, a year.
Yeah.
So I have a year to figure this out.
Oh, cool.
Like so it's like this kind of the community blessed me enough to where I could invest in the app,
Yeah.
which goes back to the community, and then invest in the amount of time that I have to figure out another way and not be reliant on supporter creator, which I think a lot of people do, is they get stuck there. But like to utilize that finances, reinvest it in myself and my community, and then build hopefully an opportunity for finances elsewhere. And so that's kind of how I got started, because it was just like a life-changing amount of cash that came through.
Nice.
And it's like, this is real? Like, this is not real. So yeah, I reinvested all of it to essentially be able to figure out the content creator piece.
That's excellent. And now, looking back, would you say that's one of the highlights that sticks out for you, or are there some other ones that are very more memorable for you?
Oh, I was so back then I didn't know. I didn't check. I didn't there was nothing inside of me that felt deserving of any of it. So I got a phone call from Epic Games, actually.
Oh, wow.
And I was on stream and got a phone call. I'll never forget. They're like, "Hey, have you checked like your support creator?" Like, it just came out. No, like no, I haven't. And then she goes, "Check it." And then I check it and I just start crying.
Oh, no
And
way.
I'm like flooded with emotion, because I've never that has never happened to me before. Like it's just such an unreal, unlikely experience for anybody to experience. So it was just like, I just felt so fortunate and grateful that I had people that wanted to support the content that I've been creating selflessly, just for fun, for joy, not for money at all. And then everything twisted itself into this like money thing, and it was like, whoa, like you can get lost here, if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And so that's why I tried my best to go, okay, like this is definitely a blessing. I'm going to take a portion of it and I'm going to make it so that I can sustain myself, pay for rent. Then I'm going to take a portion of it and give it back.
Oh,
You know,
nice.
make an app that's helpful. Make a a way for players to like see that like what they gave me isn't something that I'm hoarding to myself, you know, but that I'm like distributing it back. And so that's essentially why the app was created.
Oh, excellent.
In the first place.
So I started really on the Escape from Tarkov side of things. And what I've seen is in that community and just in general, like Dr. Lupo's, the amount of charity that are done by gamers and how much money are raised and given back is just such a really amazing thing to see happen.
Oh yeah. Like it's I don't think that there is a more generous community. And you know, how I would attribute that is like, I think like in general, at least historically, like gamers have kind of been on the fringe of a lot of situations. You know, it wasn't cool to be a gamer when I was a kid.
They say
it was
me,
just like,
you work in an office, it's like, you game? Yeah. And it's a whispered talks like, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you kind of nerd out together a little bit, but yeah, like it's kind of like, yeah, it just wasn't popular. And so you would be made fun of, you know, sports was way cooler than gaming.
Yeah.
So like if you were, you know, an athlete, like you were the cool guy, but like if you were a gamer, it was kind of lame. And so like, I think like our community has just kind of been growing like crazy. Like it's cool to be a gamer now, you know, like it's like there's a lot of great things that come with it. But ultimately, I think like the foundation of that was like these people on the fringe. And I think like that reality, whenever somebody is doing something incredible through gaming, the support is an older generation of people that have been like the uncool kids,
right?
That are like attributing to the next generation of like, good for you for giving a shit about the things that matter in life, you know, like, and then backing those people financially is I think that's kind of like what we're seeing. I think that's so cool. And I also think like it's a little ridiculous too now, where there's like so many charities that are just like trying to sponge up whatever they can get in the area too. So it is interesting. Like I probably get like 3 or 4 charity emails a month. And it's like you have to even know what your own priorities are and what those charities do, you know, to truly be helpful in the space, rather than just saying, "Oh, charity's charity." It's like it's getting a little tough to navigate.
Some operate like a business as a charity, and you got to just do your research essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And now I got to step back from it. What's with you and getting phone calls at, you know, unique times? Like I think it was over in Copenhagen. Your mom called you while you were like at an event or something, like being streamed live.
No. Okay. So that was in Vegas. I got invited to be a part of the, not TwitchCon. It was during TwitchCon, but I got invited to be one of the content creators that plays Doc's new game, Dr. Disrespect's. Yeah, so he's building his own game. So every time there's a new iteration of it, they'll do an event like where people can gather together. It's really fun, really cool.
Yeah.
So I got invited to that, and the cameras were constantly like, you know, like shining at us. And I like to bring entertainment whenever there's a camera in the room. And so I designed previously the look of like somebody's calling you. So it wasn't an actual phone call.
Oh, okay.
It was just this. It was my images that I popped up, and it said "your mom" on it. And so then when the camera came to me, I was waiting for the opportunity. The camera shone on me, and I like acted like I got a call. Nice. And then I like looked at the camera, and then I looked at my phone, and then I showed the camera my phone as "your mom," and then I was like, "Oh hey." And so during the broadcast, while it was happening, the person that was up there, one of my friends, was like, "What the heck? My mom's not calling you." And like, "Hey, what's going on?" You know. So it was just like a really funny moment. But yeah, that was in Vegas.
Nice. Yeah. And speaking of another moment, I was going through YouTube clips and I saw one where you got a donation of $600 from Mr. Beast. That was an amazing clip. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was another like brought to tears moment. That was before. Where was that? That was after the support a creator. But it was so early on in the streaming stuff that it was just like pretty surreal.
Yeah.
He essentially was just like, finding creative ways to donate to streamers. And he was on a Twitch kick and a Fortnite kick for a little while. And then Minecraft kind of just took everything. But when he was like going through a Fortnite phase, he popped on. He was going to like smaller streamers and trying to, donate. So the thing that I did not know was that he was essentially figuring out a time to start the stopwatch, and then every time I blinked, he would donate $100. So he was just going to streamers, but he wasn't telling the streamers.
Right? Yeah.
And so I had no clue he was in my chat until I got the donation.
Yeah.
So I look back on his video and I'm like, oh my God, like imagine if I just had something in my eye at that moment. But also I realized how little I blink. I don't blink a lot. Like that's like, I just don't. Like my wife, whenever we play video games, she's like, I feel like I'm not blinking. And I've just, I guess, have an immunity to it. Maybe my eyes literally have dust on it and I just don't know. But like, yeah, I just did not blink a lot. And luckily enough, they counted 6 blinks, which I think is them being generous.
Yeah.
But I got a $600 donation, and that was pretty life-changing at the moment. So,
that's awesome. Yeah. All right. Now, speaking of your wife and relationships, what does the family think of you being a creator? Because like you're in your 30s, and your mom and dad are like, how do you play video games for your living?
Yeah. Most people don't get it. Like, sometimes I don't get it. Like, it's weird. It's very weird. Like, it's not a traditional job. And I am getting later in my years. I wouldn't call myself old. I wouldn't call myself young. But, like, I'm in a place where I think I got to explore how much I love video games. Like, just as a whole. Like, how much joy I get from playing, but not only that, like how intimate it can be with building friendships and relationships online.
Yeah.
And I think like that to the world is still the missing piece. Like that was something that my wife had to learn when we got married, was like, I don't just call my brother up to talk to him.
Right.
I play video games with my brother, and it's through that medium that we figure out what's going on in each other's lives. And that medium is like a phone call, except it's, a little bit more distracted.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the fact that I won't have a really incredible conversation or learn something about somebody else, And so that piece is like so special. And it's something that I want to always position myself, like that brings the two things for me together, like interpersonal relationships and creativity. Like, so I want to be in the video game space. I want, in some capacity. I might not be a content creator, for forever. But my hope is to build experiences that players can have those moments with themselves and can explore what it's like to have relationships with people that aren't your neighbor or aren't, your best friend, like at school, but like across the world. And those relationships can inform and challenge and change you as a person. So I love that about it. I love how accessible somebody else is, no matter where they are at in the world. And I like the ability that we can handcraft these types of experiences that bring so much joy to people.
Yeah.
And challenge that like translates to real world circumstances. Yeah. So yeah, I think like although my parents don't understand it, I've been able to provide for my family long enough to where they just kind of go, good for you.
Yeah.
There is a lot of fear in being a content creator, like I had mentioned earlier, with like retirement and benefits and stuff like that you have to take seriously at some point in your life. And so when you ask those questions, you realize how hard it is to maintain being a content creator unless you are in a threshold where you're just making a good chunk of money.
Yeah.
So that's where things get complicated, and that's everything you wear as a content creator is happening, in the background of like, will I ever get out of this viewership so that I can provide for my family, so that I can actually take a vacation that I haven't taken in 6 years? Like all of that stuff is just like back there while you're like, hey guys, what's going on? You know?
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. It's fascinating. And so I want to orient myself in a place and always be like, you know, a significant presence in a space that like creates those types of experiences. And that's what's so fun about Fortnite Creative.
Yeah.
But it's also something that I can see, like if done really, really well, life changing, and it can be life changing as well. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And now, you know, speaking of Fortnite, what was your path to this game that has, you know, opened all these doors for you and just, you know, provided you with so much entertainment and a place to be creative?
Battlefield, actually. Battlefield. So, well, Battlefield and Destiny, a little bit of Overwatch. I had mentioned this before. Is like I care less about getting a victory royale, and I care more about finding a very creative way to eliminate you.
Yeah.
Love it. I freaking love it. Like and it just speaks to creativity, I think, as a whole. It's like, I get bored watching your montage videos, kids. I get bored. Like, I don't care. I don't care how good you are as an editor. I just don't. Like, that's not who I am. There are people that are like, oh my God, I want to be just like Clicks and, you know, yada, yada, yada. And that's great. Like, there's so much room for that. For me personally, I want to drive a tank off of a hill onto an air vent, switch seats to my sniper rifle, and snipe you from the sky. And for you to be like, did that just literally happen
What
to
happened?
me? And then that's our little secret, unless I clipped it or I have filmed it myself. Like, that is the moment that I want to create. And then I want to go in and I want to give a good narrative voice to what's happening, the build-up process, the to it happening. And that's why I think I found so much success on TikTok, was like, it was just like delivering these short, like, incredible moments, but giving voice to what's going on in the background, building that suspense and creating these moments that like you wouldn't see in a normal BR. You can't see in a normal BR because like nobody's as stupid as I am to try the things, you know, to torture myself. So that is that is like uniquely like Fortnite to me, and that's like where the end game is. But like Battlefield was like that for me. You know, Battlefield was similar. Like, you could throw C4 on an you know, like a little like
ATV,
go-kart thing, ATV, and then drive that thing in an elevator, take it to the top floor, drive that thing off into a helicopter, jump out, click the thing, boom, it blows up, and then you're like giggling on the way down, trying not to take fall damage. Like, that is Battlefield, right? They call it Battlefield moments. And so ever since Battlefield, it like affected me to where I couldn't play other video games the same, because I would like play something like Overwatch, and it was like, you have this character, you have this lane, you have this role, you do this thing.
Yeah.
And no matter what the map is, this is the same thing.
It's a linear,
again and again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though like there's like dynamics and like different characters and stuff, but like ultimately people would be mad at you if you weren't playing the way you were supposed to as the tank.
Right.
And so, you know, Destiny, same way. Like, you go through a raid and it's creative in what you're doing, but then like once you figure it out, you have to do it in a specific way. It's Battlefield, it's like, I wonder if this jet can fit through that hole, you know? Like, I don't know. Let's try it out. So it's just like, just very different, like, mentality. And so that's why Fortnite for me, like, has stayed consistently amazing.
Yeah.
Is because you introduce a new item and someone's like, okay, balloons, I'm not going to use that item. That doesn't help me beneficially. I'm thinking, how do I mess somebody up by using balloons, you know? Like, how do I, like, so for example, there was this, they introduced like those boxes that you can go into, and I realized that you could put C4 on the boxes. And so what I did is I had my teammates all jump in boxes, and then I just threw C4 on all of them, like on all of their boxes. And then they jumped on a launch pad, and we called it Amazon Prime. And they jumped on the launch pad, and they flew with their boxes onto a person while the person's trying to shoot at them. And then I just hit the C4 and
my God,
blew up the guy, and we won. It's like, those are the moments that Fortnite gives players.
Yeah.
And I think so many players just want to play so boringly, and I'm like, I just want to try to like push the agenda that you can play so many different ways than how you normally would. But yeah, so that's essentially, I think, Battlefield to Fortnite is how I got here. Yeah.
It's really cool how, you know, sort of Fortnite sort of rediscover themselves when the no bills happened. You had a whole bunch of influx of people coming back to it. That took off. And then just this past, fall, winter, the Lego and the racing thing brought on, you saw numbers skyrocket. And then, add in the UEFN Creative 2.0 over the last summer or fall.
Yeah.
Fortnite's in a wonderful spot right now.
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, I've got some critiques, but so there's a lot going on in the space, and a lot of people are seeing it as a money grab and are just whatever's popular, just making whatever's popular.
Yeah.
So innovation wise, we're at a hard place. In terms of just the sheer amount of people participating, incredible, right? Like people are trying to see if they have any pull in the space and if it's gonna be good. It feels tough though, because you have things like partnerships with Lego, and you have partnerships, with Pentatonics and or not Pentatonics. What is it? Harmonix.
Yep.
Pentatonics is the vocal band. But anyways, like these big people are inside of the Fortnite ecosystem, and you're creating a game that is similar to other popular games out there.
Yeah.
But there's, to a gamer, you're just playing comparison, right? Whether or not Fortnite wants it or not, well, I think they do want it. They want a Minecraft killer, or they want something to compete somewhat with Minecraft. Like, they probably won't say that out loud. I'm willing to say that because I'm a content creator.
Right.
But like, the reality is like, if I love Minecraft and I hear Lego's doing an official thing with Fortnite, I'm checking it out.
Absolutely.
Bottom line. But if I'm a Minecraft player and I have 6 years, 7 years, 10 years of content built up over time, and I play Lego and it's maybe 15% of what Minecraft is, I'm recognizing that instantly. Like, that's the reality. So we saw 2 million players, in its birth, I think up to 3 at one point, and now it's under 100K in a month.
Right.
That's not good.
Nope.
That's not like, it succeed. It's like, no, like a massive majority of people are not playing it anymore. Now, that's a problem. They'll hopefully address it, but like, ultimately what that says to me is that it was rushed for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I think the problem with rushing anything is the players, the only way that they notice these types of things is if they have enough time. And you open that box during Christmas where kids have the most time to eat it. I think that wasn't the smartest move. I get Christmas. I get the push. It probably got to 3 mil because of Christmas, but it's not going to maintain it unless there are updates.
Yeah.
And that's not when they're updating. They're all on break. And so now they're coming back from break, seeing, under 100K, which is still, in most games, it's like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to bring other players in, and raise the player count as a whole, like, which it did.
Yeah.
If those players are now gone playing Minecraft because they tried it and beat Fortnite Lego.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to stick around for when you start kind of opening up other things. So then you have to do another PR push. You have to do a lot more work. So I am very curious about it. I think, like, it's very exciting that Fortnite is evolving itself, but there's so many people that played Fortnite once and have now projected what Fortnite is all the time, right? To somebody who doesn't play Fortnite, they could assume that it was just like a Lego skin that was added into Fortnite.
Right.
Just like everything else has been. And so how do you rebrand Fortnite? That's the big question.
Yeah.
And I think, like, that's the thing that we're going to be up against for a little while until people see Fortnite as a UGC platform, not a BR. Right. And I think, like, there's a lot of growth for that to happen.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's very exciting that you can play Fortnite and be bored of the BR side and then go into an open world, Lego experience.
Yeah.
You can play some music. You can race. Very exciting stuff. But all of those current foundations feel half-baked to me.
Yeah.
And they don't feel like permanent game modes. They feel more like, like an LTM right now, unfortunately. Yeah. But I do think that Fortnite will be staying committed to that, and we'll push those hopefully a lot. And I do hope, we get back to the million plus on all of them. I want Fortnite to succeed because I am investing my time as a creative as a UGC platform myself.
Yeah.
Like, we're building a team to take this seriously. And so I see merit in it, but I also see a lot of problems. And so we have to, much like growing, there's tons of pains in growing. And so hopefully those growing pains lead to some really incredible things in the future.
Yeah, something I want to add on to. You talked about Fortnite as BR. That's all I ever thought it was a BR until learning about some of the things you're doing. Like, it was so under the radar, to the average gamer that all these sort of creative modes are in there. How did you first discover UEFN?
Okay, so Fortnite Creative has always been a thing, but it was not done well. So, and when I say it's not done well, like I've like if you know of somebody that's stuck with creative for the past 6 years, give that person a hug. That person has been through some stuff. And what I mean by that is, like, imagine using Photoshop, right? To build a picture, build something.
Yeah.
And there's no undo button. Would you use Photoshop?
No.
Probably not. And I think a majority of people were like that. And Creative's first iteration didn't even have an undo button.
Oh, wow.
It didn't have these basics that you would think, no, duh, we need this.
So you could spend a few hours doing something and make an oops, and it's like, I got to live with it, or I got to.
You could destroy one build that was connected to everything, and when you destroy that one build, it would destroy your entire creation. These people have been through things. So Creative One shows up. I'm a creative guy. Gonna try it out. Definitely gonna make the best stuff. Definitely left after a month. But the reality is like, it just needed a lot.
Yeah.
It needed a lot. And I didn't have the patience nor desire to deal with that in its current state. There are some people that have, like I said, blessings on them. So I was like, nah, there were too many red flags for me. I'm out. So then there was an announcement, that they did where it was like, hey, we're working on this thing called UEFN. You can move things in real time. There's an undo button. All these were great things. I was like, okay, like, and it's a platform, like it's its own like thing. Like, it's like Photoshop, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's its own thing. And so I got really, really, really excited about that because I wanted to be able to not, like, you have to fly around with your thumb out with a cell phone to do things. And I didn't like that. Like,
okay.
Chad Mustard Plays loves it. He would prefer that. I'm not that way. I want to navigate something like Photoshop or Blender or something.
Right.
I want that fidelity to be able to just go, I want to move this piece just a centimeter.
Yeah.
I don't want it to snap 1-to-1 everywhere. And so when it came out, I was like, I'm going to truly investigate this if this is worth my time and energy. So I just did a deep dive. All my streams were me just building maps and trying it out, figuring it out. And I found a lot of success in it. Like, not maybe success in numbers or viewers, but success in people playing my creative ideas. And so that was enough for me to go, okay, I'm making more money by creating maps than I am by streaming.
Wow.
And so in 1 month alone. And so then I was like, okay, that is enough for me to see the worth of creating really great experiences for gamers.
Yeah.
And so that's what got me into it, and that's what's keeping me into it. And now, I'm progressing so much that I'm now trying to figure out how do we optimize, right? Where I can be a creative lead, somebody could be really good at the verse piece, somebody could be really, really good at the player experience, somebody could be a good modeler. We put those right people together, and then all of a sudden we're able to curate stuff that is high quality AAA experiences that feel like a different game entirely.
Inside the Fortnite universe.
Inside Fortnite.
That's crazy. Yeah. I remember watching you first use those tools on your streams, like, oh, this is pretty cool. And you had you have a blank canvas you could do whatever you want with. Yeah.
Yeah. There is no limit. Well, there's no limits to your creativity. There's a lot of limits on where it's at currently. So there's a lot of unfortunate pieces to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't really make a 100 player BR map like if you like Fortnite if you really wanted to. It's I don't know if you tried the OG one that came out, but it's just like there's tons and tons and tons of like limitations in its current state.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's just like Creative One, there's going to be a threshold of like, can I deal with those types of limitations or not? For me, Creative One was no, but for UEFN, for me, it's like, hell yeah, like this still seems worth it. So I'm excited. There's a lot of really cool people that I'll be working with that you would know, a lot of big names, and we're gonna build some experiences that take Fortnite. And I think like a lot of I've played enough Fortnite to where I know when something's gonna flop and something isn't. Like
Yeah.
I knew the jungle season was gonna be sucky. Like I just knew by the guns, I knew by the gameplay, I knew by how much they gave us. I knew like I know this game, and um, I it's easy to bicker about it, but now I'm just like what, I'm just gonna make the game that I think
Right.
players would want to play. And I want to be one of the people that takes Fortnite off its number one spot. I want to be one of those people. Like there was the Only Up guys. They did it,
Right.
right? Like they made that map that was more popular than some of
Mm-hmm.
the BR experiences. I want to have a map that stays up there,
Yeah.
that doesn't go away. It's just like, no, this is like we're here to stay type of thing. That's my disposition towards this
Yeah.
because I believe in it that much.
Nice. And the other piece of that too, I didn't know you could, it was monetized. You guys create your maps and now you're getting just like a YouTube. Anybody's playing these maps, there's a monetization that goes along with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So like how long a player plays to returning players to, there's a whole bunch of metrics
Yeah.
around it. But yeah, Fortnite's sharing 40% of the income from purchases through the app to all creators. And so
Wow.
it's netting pretty crazy margins. Like there's some people that are like instant millionaires,
Yeah.
like with some of the numbers they have, which is crazy. Um, Obviously, those aren't the easiest to just manufacture, and that's why we're seeing a lot of copy and paste, like I
Yeah.
mentioned before. It's like if you know the Only Up guy is a millionaire now, guess what you're making? An
Right.
Only Up map, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're gonna try to get a piece of that, and so that's kind of where people are at. There's less innovation, a lot of copy paste,
Yeah.
but we want to build something that isn't very easily copy pasted, right? So like
Yeah.
if we build something that's truly different, truly amazing, truly exciting, that like one person couldn't just in a day copy and paste that to make to get us some of that. So
Exactly.
it'll be cool. There's a lot of growing pains, but UEFN will be the future of Fortnite. Maybe not now,
Yeah.
as you even said, like I didn't even know
Right.
like these things are possible. But I think like within 5 years, hopefully less than that, but like within that time frame,
Yeah.
we will see these shifts happen for sure.
Nice. So your child in 5 years will be playing some of the games you've created then.
Yeah. I think I might have to hire them as like a target audience
Right.
type. So yeah, we'll have to figure that out.
Oh.
But yeah, my kid will hopefully. I mean, I think kids either go like my mom loved country music, therefore I hated it, and then
Yeah.
I came back around to it and realized what, it's not that bad. I feel like there could be some similar things, with having a kid is like they either like love it or they're like, what, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
From the maps you've created, what are some of the ones that have, really, are your favorites that you've made?
Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of a lot of them. How I have articulated my maps in the past has been like pet projects to test a specific thing. So if we look at my rats map, my OG one, that is just like you're a small person in a really big world. That one was to see, if what you could make, like what kind of money are we talking about? Like I
Yeah.
just wanted some empirical data. Like what does that look like? Um, but that one performed really well. Like that's my second most played map. And then like you take Fart Night, which is like I was like I want to try a gun game, but I'm going to do it in a bathroom instead of like, you know, a kitchen.
Yeah.
And that one is the most played map
Oh,
I've
wow.
ever had. And then you have stuff like where I've always wanted a POI that's been a water park in Fortnite forever. I've always wanted that. Just like, I want this in Fortnite. So I made it, you know, was like, I'm going to make my own like water parks. And then Fortnite saw it and was like, hey, we're doing the summer thing. We want to advertise it. So then I got to partner with Fortnite to make that an official summer map. Like that was a big deal. So all of these different maps are testing different things. Like my Fortnopoly map was an idea of like, all right, the pit is very popular, but it's super boring. So what if I made it less or more engaging by adding different tiles that do different things? So that like when you drop into the pit, like it could be low gravity or lava could be going through the walls or like it gets flooded or like there's different places.
Yeah.
So I wanted to test, can players that join the match get stuck on those animations that I have in the map? So each one was kind of a test, and I feel like that's kind of how it's been going right now.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just trying to learn UEFN, which is like, you know, closer. It's getting closer and closer to Unreal Editor, which is wild. So it's a lot to learn there. Like, and then I'm building on those learnings, and I think that that's kind of the team that I'm a part of right now. Is the approach we're taking. It's like, let's just become masters of these different learnings, and then take those learnings and apply them to our ideas, our big map ideas. So that is a little bit of like what's been going on. But I think like the one that is the most underplayed that I think a lot of people would actually have so much fun with is probably Fortnopoly.
Yeah.
That one's like just an incredible mashup of like the pit and then also play your own way. And it adds enough mixture to the game to make it really fun for players that are playing together, like, you know, with a squad or whatnot, to mess around with each other. So that one's I'm most proud of. But unfortunately, some of these maps, you need people to play for people to be excited to join. And I don't think Fortnite wanted to mass broadcast Fortnopoly because of the IP type of thing. So it's just like kind of hit this, it's just in its own funk. But some of my favorite, you know, gameplays is actually playing that map.
And speaking of gameplay and you know, playing with friends, that's one aspect I think of the Fortnite community is really, really strong. Is like watching you and your friends play the maps you created. You know, whether it's Swearing or Bonsai and all of those people. It's just what a great community and friends you guys have created.
Yeah. I'm really grateful for that. Like I feel like that's something. Creating by yourself is tough. It's tough. Like that, like just even in all the things we had mentioned prior, like doing that alone, that's a hard thing. That's a really hard thing. And so I think like naturally it's very it seems like a very natural disposition to draw towards people that are doing the same thing you're doing and learn from them in very cool ways. And so when you build friendships off of that, like that's really, really significant and wonderful. And I am so grateful for those friendships for sure.
Yeah, how I ended up coming into the Fortnite space, you know, and I was ignorant. Fortnite's just a kid's game. You know, the 12-year-olds are playing it. But I had Monster D-Face on. He came in and he talked about, you know, he recommended Brave. I had Brave on, and he was talking about doing this project with this creator Swearing. I was like, oh, cool. A 14-year-old kid knows what he wants to do with his, you know, his IP and branding. And it's like, oh, Swearing's like a 30-year-old guy. And then he ended up coming out, and it just rolled into more people and just like fantastic people, Maddie, Sparkles, Reddish, and just it goes on with Panda. And yeah, what a good group of people you guys have.
Yeah, I feel like it's rad because we're all rooting for each other too, you know.
You're all playing together and
There's some people that are kind of competitive about it, and I get it.
Yeah.
But like ultimately like my whole thing is like good people help out good people.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been a little bit of what this little friend group has become. It's just like I'm trying creative, and you know they're hyping me up. They're sending their audiences to try out my maps. Like they're taking care of me in some respects, right? Like, and vice versa. Like I think that's a really cool. It's a really cool disposition to have. Like where like rising tides helps all ships. You know, like that's a big deal, and I think like that that you have to take an active approach towards that.
Yep.
That's not a passive thing. That has to be an active thing. You have
Mhm.
to go into somebody's chat to build relationship with them with little time that you have for yourself to do things. So like that's something that I am 100% like super grateful for, and have learned a lot from my friends on how to do that,
Mhm.
you know, better. So, yeah.
And now, adding on to that whole friendship aspect of things, being a creator and being able to go to places like, DreamHack, TwitchCon, and meeting these people IRL. And then at the same time, somebody like you who have your community. And now all of a sudden you turn here's people from your community looking up at you. Hey, can I get a picture with you? Can I, that's a whole, another unique experience that you probably never thought that you'd get from by playing video games.
Oh, no, yeah, no. Like when I get stopped, like I was at the DMV recently, and this kid was on his Switch, and he looks up at me and he goes, "You're Squatingdog." Like, this is surreal, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's just like it's not a piece that I like. It's like whatever. Like I want people to know I'm a person. I hope that the people that I engage with like see that and feel that. Like I'm not special. I'm just, I'm just a guy that really loves games, and I really love people.
Yeah.
And I want to I want to create a good community that's healthy and helpful, and like takes care of each other, Like that's the core values. Like, and so if you, as big as I get, or if I just from this point on, it's just downhill. Like it doesn't, like, being perceived as who I am
Yeah.
doesn't matter as long as people know, like, genuinely, like, my heart is to care
Yeah.
for those around me, and lift each other up. And so yeah, it's kind of it wakes me up when I go to places like TwitchCon and I'm recognized, and I'm like, this is weird, but it's like such a small reality.
Yeah.
It's so fine tuned to a very specific audience.
Yeah.
It's like 0.0004 of the world. So it's like whatever, but
Yeah.
like it is crazy to see people that are more wildly recognized, that represent the gaming community, and like the impact that they have of what they do and what they
Yeah.
say. I do hope that any type of circle or spotlight that I have, that it's always honoring to the things that I had mentioned previously.
And, don't diminish what you have, because you've also created a wonderful community from, your Squatingdog community. How would you describe the Squatingdog community?
The dog squad, I mean, they're all like legit people. Like, they're just so ridiculously kind. And they're just fantastic humans. Like, I've met a lot of them personally, like when I can, if I'm ever traveling, I'll reach out and be like, "Hey, anybody live here that wants to grab coffee or something?" And I am blown away every time I get the privilege of meeting somebody like face to face. It's like it's a very like it's different when your face is out there, because people recognize you, that you have like a home court advantage in that respect.
Right.
Where like I'm walking and then somebody's like, "Squatingdog," and I'm like, and then they're like, "Mayfer," and I'm like, "Ah,"
Yeah.
like, great, like it's like those types of moments. So I feel bad because it could be perceived as stuck up. It's just like, I just don't know your face. I know your name. Like, that's kind of some of the reality. And so when it starts to bend into like real relationship, like face to face, I'm meeting you.
Yeah.
Like, we went to Denmark and I got to hang out with one of my mods, and we got to go to the Lego house together. And it was just like so fun. Me, my wife, and her. And it was just like a blast, because it's just like you're now, it feels way more real now, And so I prefer those types of engagements than I would streaming, because it feels more real. I'm now more invested in who you are as a person. You're not just a name. And when you stream, you kind of are on guard anyways, in some respects, of like, like everyone's just trying to like, "Hey, can you shout me out? Hey, like, what if you follow me on YouTube?" I'm like, just like, we get it. Everyone's a content creator now. But like, your guards are somewhat up in some
Right.
respects. You have to piece out, like, are you a legit person or are you a computer? Are you AI? Like so there's a lot going on. And then when
Yeah.
you meet somebody face to face, it's just all that silences itself. And you're just like, oh my gosh, you're a cool person. This is awesome.
Yeah. What advice would you have for that person who's thinking about, creating videos, creating maps, or just hitting the go live button?
Yeah. So my number one advice would be, like, find your shtick. Find your thing. Like, don't have it be too uh common, right? Anybody can press live.
Yep.
Anybody. And you will find an audience, like that like you for who you are. You're gonna find a lot of people that don't. But like anybody can do that. So if that is true, how do you set yourself apart from being an anybody to like a specific somebody? And I think that decision to spend time and energy figuring that out will set you apart long term, rather than just hoping that you can acquire enough people that like you for who you are, or like who you're portraying yourself to be. But I would say it's more important to spend that time and energy finding your thing, like finding the thing that gives you passion, that gives you joy, and that lets you continue to do it without it feeling like a job or feeling like it'll be work, but like feeling like, it's something that it doesn't give you life.
Yeah.
And I think if you can find that sweet spot, whatever it is, you will find joy doing it, whether or not you have people watching you. And I think like that is the formula for success, because that success doesn't mean you make millions as a content creator.
Right.
You're finding success in your life. You're finding
happy.
joy in your life. You're happy.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's contagious for others. And so when that can be shared to others, there's a beauty there that people latch onto and want to continue to do so. So my best advice is like, if you're a trick shotter, great. How do you diversify your trick shotting from others? Right. Like figure out that formula, like play around with it, like storyboard it, ask your friends and family, like try to come to something that would make you feel unique and different.
Yeah.
That also equally gives you as much joy, whether or not somebody is watching.
Any sponsors or people that helped you along the way you'd like to give a shout out to?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I've been sponsored by Logitech pretty much this whole journey. They're insanely incredible. Just the people that work at Logitech are fantastic humans. So I am so grateful for them. They've, like your keyboard breaks and I'm fortunate enough to get one sent to me. Like that's a big deal. It's an expensive hobby.
Yeah.
So that they've been with me through and through. And then Fortnite themselves, I've been a hashtag epic partner forever. They've gone through so many changes over the years, especially even recently where there was a crazy amount of layoffs. I lost a lot of friends that work there to them not having a job anymore. And that's like really tough on them. So yeah, I care a lot about the Epic Games ecosystem and the people that work there, because what they do affects so many people at this point in time.
Yeah.
And they've always been really, really good to me.
Excellent.
I feel really grateful for them as well.
All right. And now, when you're stepping away from your computer, what happens afterwards? What do you and your wife like to do?
Well, typically speaking, my wife weaponizes our dog, and she'll be like, "Where's your dad? Where's your dad? Where's your dad?" And then my dog will come up here and then scratch at me like, "Yo, it's time to play."
Yeah.
And so then I'll boot everything down, and I have a one wheel.
Yes.
You know what that is?
I've seen. Yeah. I was going to ask. Actually, my next question was, "How's the one wheel? You can get pretty fast on those things."
No, yeah. So I've been really cruising with that sucker. It's fun. So it's if you're listening and you don't know what it is, it's like those weird boards where there's just literally one wheel, and then you're on the front and the back of that wheel. So
like
it's not like it's not the one where like a skateboard. It's not like where you're like a Segway.
Yes.
And so my dog We say, you want to go on a run? His tail never wags faster than when we ask that question. And then I get on it and I'll run him a few miles.
Yeah.
Because if I ran myself, I wouldn't be able to keep up with him. So I need like some sort of device to get him actually pooped. So we'll do a few miles around. Daylight savings sucks right now, so it's super lame. But we'll do a little night run, and then me and my wife, we've just she's pregnant, so we've been watching a lot of shows. She's been dealing with a lot of morning sickness and whatnot. So she's just kind of in veg mode. And so we've been pounding through a lot of really fun shows. We're watching Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix. We're watching Sex Education. And we just finished up Money Heist, the new one called Berlin. So we've just been kind of like, just eating up content.
Excellent.
And just relaxing. So we're trying to enjoy the last moments of, without having a kid. And so we're just kind of just trying to be close to each other, hang out and have, a good time, like doing things that we really enjoy. And right now it's a few shows, but we're hoping to, get some travel plans out there and finish some bucket list things before we have a kid.
Nice. All right. Well, hey, you made it to the end of the podcast. Thank you so much for doing this. But before you go, like many before you, ask you to shout out somebody in your circle, your peer group that you think would have a good story to come on and, share their journey.
I hope I don't mention somebody that's
okay.
been on, because that would be really embarrassing. But there are so many individuals out there that are fantastic. There are two in particular that I feel like are they need more people to know about them because they're fantastic.
All right.
One is Mr. Master Wong. And the other is Botted FPS.
All right. We'll get them both on.
Have you had them on before?
I haven't. I've never heard of them. So
nice.
This is great because this is what I love. I love finding new people and, sharing their journeys.
Yeah. They are, Botted in particular has a laugh that warms any heart. Like you just can't not fall in love with the dude because he's just so kind and so funny and laughs at too much things, but makes it wonderful in that respect. And then Mr. Master Wong I got to meet him at TwitchCon IRL and got to hang out with him and his wife, Arlene. And Tim and Arlene are just fantastic humans. And they could just use more spotlight. I think there's a lot of people out there that need that. And those are two people that I would be like, just perfect. If I could give everybody that listens to this to go check out their stream, that would be a safe bet for me.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Good luck with, baby that's coming and best wishes to your wife and good luck to the future, man.
Hey, you too. Thank you for having me on. This was so much fun.